Jeff Johansen hailed from the snowy little town of Ormond, where he grew up as a reserved only child who much preferred the company of his thoughts to the chaos of a crowd. In high school, he learned to project a tough and stoic personality in order to hide his struggles with anxiety, which intimidated both bullies and teachers alike. Back home, Jeff found his sanctuary in the soaring riffs of heavy metal and the treasure hunt of vinyl records. The album covers of his growing collection, adorned with wild and mysterious imagery, whispered to his imagination, inspiring him to craft his own art. This creative outlet became his refuge from the bitter fighting of his parents, allowing him to channel the noise into something uniquely his own. Jeff found solace in a quiet job at a video store. The foot traffic was sparse, leaving him long stretches of time to lose himself in his sketches. One evening, a familiar late-night customer took notice of his art and made an unusual request to create a mural for his gang up at the abandoned lodge on Mount Ormond. Jeff, intrigued and eager for the challenge, agreed. With steady hands, he painted a striking mural emblazoned with the words, "The Legion," the crude, bloody lettering dripping with ominous energy. When his work was done, he was handed a crumpled $50 bill and a 12-pack as payment. A modest reward, but one that marked a significant moment. It was his first commissioned piece. A quiet triumph in a life still finding its voice. After his parents' divorce, Jeff's life was uprooted, forcing him to leave his hometown and his father behind as he moved on with his mother to Winkler, Manitoba. The distance was more than just physical. It deepened the isolation he already felt. In Winkler, Jeff was lonelier than ever, finding comfort only in the familiar embrace of art and music. Graduating high school brought a small reprieve when he began working at a local bar known for its live music scene. The thrum of guitars and the hum of bass lines offered him a brief sense of belonging. Not long after, he seized the chance to escape Winkler entirely by landing a roadie gig, carrying with him his few belongings and a fragile hope for something better. But the road wasn't kind to Jeff. A few years later, a fight broke out during a concert, and Jeff found himself caught in the fray. He was left with an injury that threatened his eyesight, and his doctor urged him to stay in town for monitoring. Trapped again, this time by circumstance, Jeff faced a painful pause. It was a period of quiet reckoning, a time to confront the choices that had brought him here and the uncertain path ahead. As a result, he enrolled in art school, a fresh chapter in his life brimming with possibility. Though his eyesight recovered gradually, he learned to move forward with care and purpose. Through a mix of courses, Jeff explored several mediums before finding his stride in oil painting and digital art. The latter even led to paid internships, opening doors he hadn't imagined. With a steady desk job, Jeff discovered his knack for creating label designs for microbreweries, blending his love of art and storytelling. His life grew quietly fulfilling. He began brewing his own beer, adopted a rescue dog who quickly became his loyal companion, and found joy in designing tattoos and freelancing album covers for bands he admired. Jeff's world wasn't flashy, but it was his. A mosaic of creativity, kindness, and contentment. Each day, he built a life he could truly call his own. Until one quiet morning, the phone rang with news from Ormond. His father had passed. There were a few things for him to settle, they said. Jeff listened in silence, the weight of the words pulling him back to a place he had not seen in years. The drive to Ormond was long, and the sight of his father's house struck him with a bittersweet ache. Time had worn its edges, yet it still carried the echo of a home. Inside, leaning against a wall, was an old guitar case. Curious, Jeff opened it to find a black vintage model, worn but beautiful. A sticky note clung to its surface. Scrawled in familiar handwriting, it read, "For my boy." Jeff lingered in Ormond longer than he intended, wandering through its streets and the memories that they stirred, the pull of childhood memories anchoring him to the past. Passing by his old high school, he felt the weight of his younger self. His thoughts then drifted to the mural that he had painted up on Mount Ormond. On a whim, he stopped to pick up the 12-pack, and dressed in his old-school leather jacket and worn-out jeans with a built-in bottle opener, he made his way to the abandoned lodge to see his work once again. The past seemed to live in every shadow, and for a while, he let himself be lost in it. This would be the last anyone would hear from Jeff Johansen. The whispered rumors were that search efforts had found footprints leading into the Mount Ormond resort, but none coming out. Weeks passed without a word from Jeff. His colleagues were concerned at first, but eventually they gave in to the assumption that grief had consumed him entirely. Meanwhile, his neighbor, weary of caring for Jeff's increasingly anxious dog, let it go. Astray once more, the dog roamed the town, a shadow in the night, nose low to the ground as it sought the faint, familiar trail of Jeff's malty scent. Night after night, it moved through the quiet streets and darkened woods on its futile mission, as though searching for something or someone lost to the darkness. Jeff departed the world that he knew, shrouded in an unnatural fog, and awoke in another, a realm that felt like a twisted, malevolent shadow of home. The skeletal outline of Ormond was there, with the crumbling ski resort and lodge he once knew. But in this place, death and terror ruled, in an unending, merciless cycle. Here, you had only two roles, the hunter or the hunted. Thrown into this grim crucible, Jeff found himself banding together with other lost souls, strangers united by a shared desperation and a will to survive. But as he navigated this forsaken domain, he encountered four figures whose faces struck a chilling chord of recognition. It was them, the same four who had once laughed with him as he painted their mural on Mount Ormond. Only now, their faces were hidden behind eerie masks, their intentions twisted, their camaraderie long replaced by malice. Yet Jeff was no stranger to standing against the odds. His years of defying bullies and retreating from the chaos of crowds had honed a quiet resilience. He knew how to hide, to frustrate, to outlast. Patience had become his shield and determination his weapon. Though his voice had always been one of quiet resolve, Jeff would not be silenced here. Against the hunters, against the endless dark, he stood unyielding, a beacon of defiance in a realm where hope seemed long extinguished. Thank you for watching.